Alright, got my new mic. You know I had to represent black and gold, feel me? Got my little, I don't know what this is. I don't know what this does. I got the cable. I got the headset thing. I don't have a mic stand. I need a mic stand. Production value is going through the roof. Hey, you happen to know what I don't like in no particular order? Bad police officers and dogs. So could you imagine a world in which these two things are combined? As laughable as that might sound, it's really something that goes on. In this world we live in 2017, it is possible for you as an individual to suffer consequences at the hands of a canine. Anyone that knows me knows I hate dogs. Not because the dogs are annoying to me or anything, it's because of how people treat them and really what lengths people will go to for animals but want to imitate or emulate for mankind. Now, dog is man's best friend. But I always countered that thought process with, why is a dog a man's best friend and not man? It is fair to say that a dog's purpose in most people's life is to keep them company. A sense of companionship, loyalty, trust, love, admiration. Canine units were first introduced in the form of firefighters. Because of their inclined sight, smell, and hearing, they had a leg up on individuals in firefight. But the process of using canine units in our police force didn't really happen until after the civil rights movement. But before then, if you really want to know when canine units became popular, they became popular in the slave trade, right around the Civil War. Because if you thought this fat white man was going to catch this black man, you out your mind. These dogs were used to track slave runners, and not only track them, but strike fear and intimidate them. For all the features that the German Shepherd seems to house in its intimidating features, it has made it a prime dog to use in the canine force, and is still being used today in the canine units. The canine units are now being used today for drug purposes, but it goes without saying, these drug purposes that the dogs are being used for aren't really the dog's strong point. The German Shepherd ranks 4th on the list behind these dogs when it comes to the smell test. A bloodhound is the preferred dog of choice when it comes to tracking anything. Why is it that we don't see pictures of bloodhounds being used to bite into suspects and track suspects down, but instead we get tons of pictures like this? Is it probably because one is a lot more intimidating than the other? Don't believe me? Compare. But I digress. Society we live in today believes dogs are more important than black people. A little bit more research, shall we? Here's a website dedicated to dogs that have been shot by officers. Down this lovely list is a bunch of families who have come together to mourn and talk about their experiences with law enforcement, because they all have one thing in common, which is their dog was shot by an officer. And believe it or not, people respond well to this site, but something was off about this site. As I was going down its 2-year history, I noticed this person was on their page, even though these people have been shot more recently than she has. Is there a difference? Is there a reason why you should have human beings on a page dedicated to dogs that have been shot by police officers, unless you're trying to prove a point? Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think any of the people on this page are racist or biased. Okay, they're biased, but it's inherent. It's because we have magnified issues that are only relevant to us. The fact is, these people feel that their dogs being taken from them are more valuable than a complete stranger who has been taken from someone else, which is a problem. There's no place in this world where a dog's life should outweigh a human being's, but constantly we are shown that this is the case. And it's becoming more and more apparent, especially in the black community, that police dogs are not being used to enforce the law, they're being used to intimidate the people in that community. Let's take, for example, this lovely officer and his canine. This officer gave the command for a release 17 times, and the dog did not respond once. It's because the dog has a bloodlust. A dog's innate nature is to please and make sure his owner or trainer is happy. By guaranteeing that his trainer or owner is happy, he gains a certain sense of gratification. And it's even proven scientifically that these dogs, when it comes to finding drugs on suspects, are not even as accurate as a flip of the coin. Some only getting 1 out of 4 correct when it comes down to it. So the question then becomes, why are they still being used in the court of law or being used in our police system? And the only reason why you would even want to have these dogs on your force is because they are a guaranteed way of getting people on minimum drug charges into your private prisons that you have sold out to other private companies, and guaranteeing that your state gets money. And by guaranteeing your state gets money, you make sure you get money in your pocket. I'm looking at all you idiots out there. So there's 2 significant cases that kind of dictate the ability for police departments department to use dogs. But when you're dealing with an officer who has a canine unit, first rule, second, ask if you are being detained, and if you are not being detained, are you free to go? If the answer to this question is no, he has to give you a reason why you're being detained, and if the answer to this is yes, politely roll up your window and drive away. And third but not least, get his name and badge number so that in the event something happens, we are not waiting 6 weeks for his name to be mysteriously leaked by the media. Let's get these people out in the public so we can identify them and get them off of our streets. If an officer comes up to you with a canine unit, remember you still have the right to remain silent. That dog can be used to run your car. This is a term used when a dog is circled around your vehicle and it waits to see if it gets a target. A target is a universal sign for police departments that dog believes that there are some type of drugs in your vehicle. So granted, this situation has now opened the door to another situation. So it is very important to understand two things. Why you were pulled over. If you're being pulled over for a traffic stop and a dog hits on your car, that officer now has the ability to search your vehicle. No longer needs probable cause, as that dog has given him probable cause. But you must understand, the initial reason for your car being stopped was for a traffic citation. Him running the dog around your vehicle, at that point, that officer has no business running a dog around your vehicle. So if the dog does hit, there's a chance for you to win this battle in court, but you have lost the battle in the field. There's no point in putting up a fight. The best situation for you, get all the pertinent information and if you do get the traffic citation and the officer is prepared to let you go, but for some strange reason he asks to search your vehicle and you say no, and then that officer responds by saying you must wait in order for him to get a canine unit, by law, you do not have to wait, as due process is part of this process. He must be able to expedite and let you go. In the event that he does bring a dog and it does hit your vehicle, you must have the chain of events in order. You were stopped for a basic traffic citation. Now you're being detained for a drug charge. If you have drugs or if you don't, you can win this battle in court. Your best bet is to and take that L. This is only for bad officers. Bad officers are everywhere. For example, look at this situation. This poor old man was towing equipment without having the proper license in the middle of nowhere. I mean, this is a dirt road we're looking at. After this man was pulled over, pulled out of his vehicle, he answered a barrage of questions, to which then the officer decided to write him a citation, which he refused to take, so he got back in his truck and drove off. After a 10-minute drive going at max speed of 20 miles per hour, the police chase came to a dramatic end where the officer told the 70-year-old plus man to get down on the ground repeatedly. I don't know about you, but getting on the ground for a 70-year-old isn't something they think or dream of, as shattering a hip is one of the more likely fates that you will suffer if you ever find yourself on the ground as an elderly person. As this 70-year-old man was getting ready to comply to the officer's wishes, the officer let his lovely pet go. That properly trained canine unit proceeded to put his fangs into that person's head. This is bloodlust, and this is something that we see constantly throughout the whole entire police department. We see a group of thugs gang up on one person and all at the same time extract their frustration into that suspect. For you to first have a badly trained dog, you must first have a bad cop that is umbrellaed by a bad and corrupt system. This is not an accident. For you to have a canine unit on your staff is about $22,000 a year when it comes straight down to food, housing, health, training, and to do this weird thing. But to top it all off, when they die, you also have to pay for that, which isn't too much if you think $1,200 couldn't have been spent somewhere else in your community. So let's not sit here and pretend that this is a situation that is gonna magically go away. We need to find a way to remove canine units from police departments, as they serve no purpose other than to intimidate and propagate false hits on individuals who may or may not be carrying drugs and create a burden on our tax community, because this lovely sap is gonna get a good $3 million for his pain and suffering. As a community, as a society, what do we value more? There are more officers serving prison time for killing dogs than there are officers serving time for killing black people. So excuse me if I sound a little ignorant when I say, what does the community care more about? Black people or dogs?